Listen, man, let me hit you with the truth that most guys never hear. Attraction isn't about lines, gifts, or timing. It's about energy, what she feels the second you walk into her space. And here's the kicker. It's not always about what you do wrong. Sometimes it's about what you project without even realizing it. You might think effort is what wins her. Flowers, texts, planning dates. But the truth? Effort without presence just feels like begging. Women aren't keeping score of what you did. They're feeling who you are. And when you don't understand this, you fall into a cycle of chasing women who never saw you in that light to begin with. But once you learn the shifts I'm about to share, you'll see rejection in a whole new way. Not as a loss, but as a compass pointing you back to yourself. Let's dive in. Point 1. The silent impression comes first. Let me tell you something, brother. Before you ever say a word, she's already decided how she feels about you. It's not fair, it's not logical, but it's instinct. A woman doesn't sit there making a checklist in her head. She just feels it. And that feeling comes from the way you carry yourself. The way you stand, the calm in your eyes, or the nervous shuffle in your hands. That speaks louder than any line you could come up with. I had this buddy once who thought he could talk his way into attraction. He'd rehearse jokes, memorize clever lines, and plan out conversations in his head. But here's what always happened. By the time he delivered his best material, she had already made up her mind. Why? Because his body gave him away. His shoulders slouched, his tone begged for approval. His whole presence whispered, "Please like me." She felt that energy before he even finished his hello. Now, compare that to another guy I knew who didn't rehearse a thing. He just walked and relaxed, not rushing to impress anyone, not desperate to prove his worth. And guess what? Women leaned in. They wanted to know more. He hadn't said a single word, but his calm energy made them curious. That's the secret. Your presence is the message. If it screams neediness, she feels it instantly. If it radiates confidence and stillness, she feels that too. And here's the kicker. She'll remember how you made her feel long before she remembers anything you said. Point 2. The vibe decides the box. Here's the reality, man. Every woman sorts men the moment she meets them. And it's not about good or bad, worthy or unworthy. It's about how you make her feel. She's not sitting there thinking through it logically. She's just reacting to energy. Some men spark thrill. Some provide comfort. And some, they slide straight into the safe friend zone. And here's the painful part. Once she places you in one of those boxes, climbing out is almost impossible. Not because she's cruel, but because you've already told her your story without realizing it. Your vibe did the talking before your words ever had the chance. I'll give you an example. I knew this guy, really good guy, loyal, dependable, always there when someone needed him. But the moment he met a woman he liked, his whole energy turned into caretaking mode. He'd offer to drive her places, check if she was okay, do little favors right off the bat. And what happened? Every time, she treated him like a brother. Safe? Absolutely. Comfortable? Of course. But desirable? Never. It wasn't that he lacked value. He had plenty. It's that the vibe he gave off told her, you don't need to wonder about me. You don't need to chase me. I'm here, steady, predictable, yours without question. And once she feels that, the mystery vanishes. And without mystery, desire doesn't grow. That's the power of vibe, my friend. It writes the script for how she sees you long before you've said a word. Point 3. Desire doesn't wait for logic. This is where a lot of guys trip up. Man, they think attraction is some checklist. If they tick the right boxes, stable job, good income, thoughtful text, loyalty, eventually she'll decide to want them. But attraction doesn't work like that. It's not a decision she makes in her head. It's a spark she feels in her body. Think of it like fire. You don't stand there debating with a match whether it's going to light. Either the spark catches instantly or it doesn't. Same thing with desire. I've seen women meet a man and melt into his arms the same night. Not because he gave her a resume of his life, but because something in his energy struck her at a deeper level. His presence bypassed her logic and went straight to her instincts. And then I've seen the opposite. Another guy puts in months of effort. He's texting, planning, paying, proving, waiting, and all he gets is a polite smile and a pat on the back. Why? Because he made her feel safe, but he never made her feel alive. Safety without spark is comfort, not craving. That's the lesson most men never learn. You don't earn attraction by piling on reasons. You ignite it by the way you carry yourself. And if the spark isn't there early, no amount of proving will make it show up later. Point 4. Effort without tension kills attraction. Let me break this down for you, man. There's a trap most guys fall into. They think more effort equals more attraction. So they pile it on. Gifts, long texts, constant check-ins, over-explaining every move. And at first, it feels like generosity. But underneath, what it really is a plea. And women feel that. I watched a guy once. Good dude, heart in the right place. Every Friday, he'd show up with flowers for this woman he liked. Didn't matter that she barely responded to his texts. He thought if he kept proving himself, eventually she'd see his worth. But here's what actually happened. The more he gave, the colder she became. Not because she hated kindness, but because she felt no tension, no mystery, no pull. He was giving himself away before she even asked for anything. And here's the brutal truth. When something is free, it rarely feels valuable. That's how she saw him. Not as a prize to earn, but as an option that would always be there. His effort didn't make her lean in. It made her lean out because she already knew the ending of the story. That's why effort without tension doesn't build desire. It smothers it. A man who knows his worth doesn't overgive to prove himself. He creates space. He lets her lean in. And that space? That's where attraction grows. Point 5. Women test your frame, not your feelings. Listen, brother, this is one of the biggest things men get wrong. When a woman throws a little test at you, delayed replies, mood swings out of nowhere, sarcastic digs at your confidence, it's not because she hates you or wants to hurt you. It's instinct. She's not testing your feelings. She's testing your frame. She wants to know if you're solid, if you can hold your ground when things get shaky. I knew a guy once who failed this every single time. She'd delay a text, and he'd send 3 follow-ups. She'd get quiet, and he'd panic, pouring out paragraphs trying to win her back. What he didn't realize was that his overreaction proved he wasn't steady. His emotions lived and died on her response. And the more he chased, the less respect she had. Now compare that to the man who doesn't flinch. She makes a little jab at him, and he just smiles, maybe teases her back, maybe doesn't even react at all. She goes cold for a day, and he stays focused on his life. That calmness speaks louder than any explanation. It says, I'm not here to audition for you. I know who I am, with or without your approval. That's the moment respect starts to grow. Because deep down, she's not looking for a man who bends to every mood. She's looking for a man whose frame is stronger than hers. Point 6. Emotional hunger is repellent. This one stings, but you got to hear it, man. Women can sense when a guy needs him more than he needs his own mission. If your entire identity is wrapped up in her, if she's the center of your universe, she feels it. And nothing kills attraction faster than emotional hunger. I watched it happen to a buddy of mine. When he first met this girl, he had a good thing going, a career he loved, hobbies that lit him up, a tight group of friends. But slowly, he started dropping it all. Cancel on his guys, skip the gym, stopped working on his goals, just so he could be more available for her. At first, she enjoyed it. Who wouldn't enjoy someone orbiting around them? But after a while, it shifted. The weight of his emptiness started to fall on her shoulders. She felt like she had to carry both herself and him. And here's the truth. A man without his own center doesn't feel like a partner. He feels like a burden. She didn't leave because he wasn't kind enough. She left because he lost his edge, his gravity. Attraction lives in independence. When you build your world so strong that she has to earn her place in it, that's when she wants to stay. Point 7. Confidence is not shown, it's felt. Here's a mistake most guys make. They think confidence is about showing. Flashing the car keys, talking about their paycheck, cracking clever lines to prove they belong. But real confidence? It's quieter than that. It's not in the noise, it's in the weight. I remember this one dude at a party. He wasn't the loudest. He wasn't telling stories to get laughs. He just sat back, calm, present. When he spoke, he didn't rush. He let the silence breathe. And you know what? People leaned in. They wanted to hear him. Even the women in the room noticed him more than the guy cracking jokes nonstop. Why? Because his confidence wasn't performance. It was felt. Think of it like gravity. Gravity doesn't brag about its pull. It doesn't need to announce itself. It simply exists steady, undeniable, and everything around it responds. That's how true masculine confidence works. You don't need to shout it. You don't need to prove it. You just hold your ground, meet her eyes without flinching, and walk away when respect isn't there. And that, brother, is what makes her feel in her gut without you ever having to say a word. Point 8. She mirrors your self-respect. Here's a tough truth, brother. The way you let her treat you sets the standard for how she will treat you. If you allow her to cancel on you last minute and still show up the next time with open arms, you just told her that your time doesn't matter. If you keep chasing after she ignores your messages, you're teaching her that your attention is cheap, and she'll spend it like it's worthless. I knew a man who lived this cycle for months. He adored this woman. He made excuses every time she flaked. He kept showing up, kept buying dinner, kept waiting by the phone like a loyal puppy. And every time, she pulled back a little more. Not because she hated him, but because he showed her he'd accept scraps. Then one day, he snapped out of it. No big speech, no drama. He just stopped chasing. He stopped rewarding bad behavior. He withdrew quietly and invested in himself instead. New gym routine, new projects, new circle of friends. And here's the wild part. Within weeks, she was reaching out. Not because she suddenly discovered he was her soulmate, but because the script had flipped. His self-respect changed the entire dynamic. See, women mirror what you project. If you respect yourself, she has no choice but to either step up or step aside. And if she can't step up, that's your answer. Respect yourself enough to walk, because the only love worth keeping is the kind that honors your boundaries. Point 9. Stillness unsettles more than words. Here's the thing most men get wrong. They think strength is loud. They think if they argue harder, talk longer, or explain better, they'll win respect. But the truth? Real strength is quiet. It's in stillness. It's in the ability to stay calm when someone's pushing every button you've got. I remember seeing this play out at a bar. A woman kept testing this guy. Little digs, sarcastic comments, trying to get him to snap. Most men would have fired back, raised their voice, maybe stormed out. But not him. He just smiled, leaned back in his chair, and let her burn through her energy. He wasn't cold. He wasn't passive, but he didn't flinch either. And you could feel in the room, suddenly, she was the one unsettled, not him. That's the power of stillness. It communicates something words can't. I'm unshakable. See, when you react, you hand over control. But when you remain grounded, when your silence says more than your arguments ever could, you become unforgettable. Stillness is presence. It's power without performance. And the truth is, nothing makes a woman rethink her approach faster than a man she can't rattle. Point 10. Peace is the ultimate win. Brother, let's strip it all down. This game isn't about getting her to chase you. It's not about proving your worth to a woman who couldn't see it in the first place. The real victory? It's peace. I knew a man who used to exhaust himself trying to win back women who walked away. Flowers, long texts, endless apologies, just to get them to stay. But every time, even if they came back, he was still restless inside. Why? Because his value was tied to their reaction. It wasn't until he stopped, until he turned all that energy back into his own growth, that everything shifted. He built his career, got his health back on track, started living for himself. And suddenly, the silence that used to feel like loss started to feel like freedom. That's the lesson. Peace isn't her attention. Peace is walking into a room knowing you're whole, whether she's there or not. Peace is not flinching when someone leaves, because your value doesn't leave with them. That's the real prize, brother. Not revenge, not proving her wrong, but building a life so grounded, so full, that nothing she does can shake it. And when you reach that, that's when you finally win. So here's what I want you to take away, brother. Attraction isn't a game of effort. It's a mirror of energy. Women read you before you speak, and the role you end up in is decided by what you carry inside. Stop chasing. Stop begging. Stop proving. Instead, become the man whose presence is enough. The man whose silence speaks louder than gifts. The man who builds himself so strong that rejection doesn't wound him, it redirects him. Because at the end of the day, she doesn't choose the man who does the most. She chooses the man who makes her feel the most. And if you embody that calm, grounded, magnetic, you'll never need to convince anyone again.